Oh, but boxing ego, Gervonta Tank Davis, he ain't fought nobody. Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero. Didn't Tank beat Rolly? Didn't Tank beat Ryan? Lucy, you got some explaining to do. In this video, I'm going to cover that very subject. You're not going to want to miss this. Let's get unpacked. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. And the Haney-X are still down bad. Now, I want to give you guys this work, but before I give you the work, pause. I got a little PSA. Make sure, I told you 2025 is going to be an amazing year for me and us on the channel. And you guys know, if you Egos Army, you've been rocking. I've never let you down, and I don't plan on it. But for some, it is going to be an abysmal year, like the Haney-X, the Haney-X content creators. So just buckle up, stay tuned. Now, the game is getting fickle. Gervonta Tank Davis seems to be public enemy number one. A lot of people have weird commentary regarding him. A lot to say about him. A lot to say about anybody who supports Gervonta Davis. And on my channel, we gonna unpack it and see what makes sense. For starters, you got Shakur fans and Devin fans, Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, and they are saying like, oh, Tank ain't this, Tank ain't that. When have you ever seen this in boxing, people, where the person with an action, knockout style, knockout artist, don't get paid by the hour, get you up out of there? That is not the desired style. So you have the Haney-X and the Shakur Stevenson fans pushing for their fighter, and most of their fights be going 12 rounds versus I've covered Tank fights, right? I've covered Devin fights. I've covered Shakur fights. The energy is different. And I've covered more of the fighters that you guys know and respect than a lot of people. But for some reason, you got this skewed, weird commentary where people are begrudged and hate on Tank Davis. Now, I wanted to address this. There's a lot of people who they say, who is Tank beat? His resume is not good. Who is he beat? This is a recurring theme that you can find all over the internet when it comes to Tank Davis. Resume is not good. Who is he beat? So let's get unpacked. I find that very funny because Ryan Garcia is a former Tank conquest, somebody that he beat. And ESPN says Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney to share a card before planned rematch. So they're on the same card, but not fighting each other. Boxing star Ryan Garcia will fight Rolly Romero, right? In the words of Bill Duke, you see that? Boxing star Ryan Garcia will fight Rolly Romero. You know you done fucked up. You know you done fucked up, right? I'm going to say it one more time. Boxing star Ryan Garcia will fight Rolly Romero. Tank has 30 wins, 28 knockouts. Let's see. Why does that name Rolly Romero sound familiar? Oh, That's right. In 2022, so 3 years ago, when he was undefeated, Tank knocked him out at the Barclays Center. Not to mention, when he did it, he set a Barclay record that Devin Haney and Ryan couldn't beat. These are the facts, right? Devin and Ryan fought in the Barclays Center as well, but if you look up the numbers, it did not do and represent greater business than Tank 3 years ago fighting an undefeated Rolly, because they did a great job, excellent job selling the fight, and it's a Tank fight. But you got maniacs who they don't like Tank, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to make sense. Now, the other name was Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia. King Rye? Where do I know that name? Oh, that's right. Tank Davis fought him in 2023. Not Hector Luis Garcia, but Ryan Garcia. April 22nd. So a year before Devin fought Ryan Garcia, because Devin fought Ryan in 2024 on 420. So literally it was almost a year apart, give or take a couple days. And Tank fought Ryan when he was undefeated. Oh, I love my job. This is going to be a fun year for me. So the Haney-X look stupid. Let me explain why. And these other fan bases, whoever is hating on Tank. Here's why. For the Haney-X, Devin is surely taking a tune-up with the Jose Ramirez fight. You could believe Ego, you could believe Bill, Devin, the Haney-X content creators, don't care. You're fighting a guy, Jose Ramirez, who just lost to Arnold Barboza in November. So for all intents and purposes, that's a tune-up fight where Devin should be the favorite. Because your last fight was Ryan. Now, if you get past Ramirez and Ryan gets past Rolly, then the two will fight each other in Saudi Arabia, right? So the point is this. You need a tune-up. Ryan needs a tune-up before you guys rematch. Instead of going straight into the rematch, so there's no spoilers, no upsets, no vulnerable performances. All of these things could hurt Haney-Garcia. Like if Ryan got knocked down by Rolly. I mean, obviously a full-on upset or a loss for either guy definitely hurts. But even if Devin Haney looks vulnerable versus Jose Ramirez, you know what I mean? So I don't really like it. If this is what it's going to be, you should have just did Ryan and Devin, immediate rematch, hash it out with all the controversy with the Osterine, do one in America, second one in Saudi Arabia, boom, done. Or do one in Saudi and then America, you know, however you want to work that. But since Riyadh season, I believe, starts in October, you can do the first one in May and then boom. But they're choosing interim fights. So now we look at the interim fights. Ryan is fighting a guy in Rolly who Tank already stopped. And guess what? Pitbull Cruz also stopped him as well. And this is Ryan's next opponent. So I'm not mad at the fight per se. I am mad that you guys are liars. That's what I'm mad at. Because he's fighting Rolly, and Rolly has 2 knockout losses, and he has 2 fights where people thought he could have lost, Jackson Marinez and Barroso, and 2 stoppage losses, both Pitbull, and also Tank was the first to do it. I told you, Tank fought Rolly when he's undefeated. So it's ironic. He fights Tank undefeated, gets knocked out. His very next fight, Rolly looked vulnerable and got dropped by Barroso. And people, that was a controversial fight. Then The next year he fights Pitbull Cruz because he was a champion, even though albeit controversial. Rolly went on to fight Pitbull Cruz, a guy Tank beat, and then he gets knocked out in that fight for the second time. Then his last fight was on the undercard of PBC with Manuel, and this is a unknown guy, 16 1-1, not like a real experienced guy, and it just wasn't super exciting, right? So momentum wise, Rolly doesn't have a ton of momentum since the Tank fight, right? I just went over it. Tank knocked you out, then Barroso knocked you down, and it was controversial, and then Esau Pitbull Cruz knocked you out, and then your comeback fight was a 16 1-1 Manuel James, and it was like, it just was an uneventful type of fight, and now he's fighting Ryan. And the Haney-Garcia, they're like, yeah. The Ryan fans like, yeah, they're on the same card. This is amazing. So we got to get to a point where people keep it the real again in boxing. How is it that Ryan can fight Rolly, two guys that Tank knocked out, and this is amazing fight? I just went over Rolly's path to get to the Ryan fight. So people wanted to see Ryan and Rolly when Rolly was undefeated and Ryan was undefeated. Floyd Mayweather even offered, because Rolly was Mayweather Promotions or whatever, or is with Mayweather Promotions. Floyd said, I'll give you money, $250K if you beat Rolly, I'll give you Tank. And Ryan never fought Rolly at that time and took Floyd up on that offer, right? So we wanted to see this fight, but we wanted to see it when they were undefeated, when Floyd was saying, yo, fight Rolly to get to Tank. Ryan didn't do it for whatever reason. Fight Rolly, get to Tank. And then we never got it. And it is so funny because you have fans who will say, yeah, Turkey's giving us all the fights that we want. He's giving us all, he's making boxing great again. He's giving us all the fights that we want, right? But if you look at the fights, a lot of fights are fights that people may have wanted, but not now, right? For example, Chris Eubank and Conor Benn. People were excited for this fight 3 years ago or whatever, but then Ben tested positive and the fight got canceled. So they just went their separate ways. Conor Benn was in and out with UCAD, couldn't get a license at first. So he had years of trying to clean his name and get that fixed and, and get that settled. So Conor Benn, that's the fight y'all been asking for, Conor Benn, because they're supposed to be doing two of them. So that was a fight from years ago people wanted to see, not in 2025. Same thing with Ryan and Rolly. Me personally, it is what it is. If I don't really care, it should be a good action fight, great, funny build-up, and the end goal is Haney-Garcia. That's not my problem, so I'm not going to trash the fight. The reason I got to put it in perspective is because you guys are liars and say Tank ain't fought nobody, yet when the nobodies, aka Tank leftovers, fight each other, now it's a good fight. So when Rolly fought Pitbull, people were excited. Yeah, but Tank beat Rolly. Tank beat Pitbull, and it was after he beat both of them that they fought each other. People loved the fight. I've seen people posting clips of Pitbull getting a stoppage over Rolly. Now people are like, this is going to be amazing. Ryan and Rolly, yeah. Even before it was Rolly, Riyadh's season was saying it was going to be Pitbull and Ryan, which some people like the Pitbull-Ryan angle better. Some people like Rolly-Ryan better. But what do they have in common? Whether Ryan fought Pitbull or whether Ryan fought Rolly, all three of those names have been beaten by Gervonta Tank Davis. So The money is looking funny in the light. You guys are liars, and that is apparent. So Tank beat all these guys already, and for Devin, the reason why it looks crazy for the Haney-X is Devin's whole career hangs in the balance of if he can beat Ryan Garcia. Make no mistake about it. He has to avenge that and soundly beat Ryan. Ryan has to obviously pass all of his drug tests and stuff like that. But Devin is going to have to beat Ryan Garcia. Absolutely. So on one angle, you have Devin, who his whole career hangs in the balance on if he can beat Ryan, a guy Tank already beat. To get to the Ryan Haney rematch, Ryan got to beat Rolly, a guy Tank that already beat. And Ryan is a guy that Tank already beat. And then the initial opponent, Pitbull, was a guy that Tank already beat. So I'm asking you guys, and I know there's a lot of people, they want me to be wrong, but not this time. How can you say that Tank's resume is soft, is light, is horrible, is terrible, but he's fighting an undefeated Frank Martin, who I can't wait for him to come back because I think he can still do damage at 140. When Ryan fights Devin, it's a great fight. Devin fighting Tank's leftovers is a great fight. Hector Luis Garcia, he beat him. You know, Rolly and Ryan is a great fight. When people thought Ryan was fighting Pitbull, is a great fight. Tank beat him with one hand. Mario Barrios fighting Keith Thurman. People wanted Devin to fight Mario Barrios. People wanted Jaron Ennis to fight Mario Barrios. Tank stopped him as well. So notice the pattern. When Tank beats these guys, they're nobody. And nobody wants to see that and all this hate. But when they fight other people, not involving Tank after Tank already beats them, then all of a sudden, these are like fights that help boxing. But when Tank fought him, he don't get credit for him on his resume. And then a person like me, I come and spank the Haney-X and spank the Shakur fans and spank the Ryan Garcia fans, the Oscar Ryan fans, and they say, oh, you love Tank and all this like weirdo rhetoric. You're in love with Tank. So I need you guys as fans. We're going to draw that line in the sand. Listen to what I'm saying. I presented my case. I presented the facts. You guys can get distracted if you want. There's a lot of people that come with antic. They're not coming with knowledge. They're not coming with facts. They're coming with antics. Me, I come from hip hop. Way before this boxing stuff, I was in hip hop. So in hip hop, you got to listen and peep what someone said. I don't care about the antic. What about the substance? What about lyricism? The lyrics. What are you talking about when you spat that? That's what matters to me. So you guys, you know, think like a lyricist, think like a rapper. Don't just be hyped because you like the presentation or someone's talking loud. Listen, study what people are really saying. Oh, Tank ain't fought nobody. But then the same people like Ryan and Pitbull is an amazing fight. And then I told you to stop prematurely announcing fights. It's bad for business. The next day, they say Ryan's not fighting Pitbull. He's fighting against Rolly. And now that Turkey shifted it and it's a new opponent because Pitbull already had a fight scheduled February 1st on David Benavidez, David Morrell card, like I told you. So it's dumb to just assume coming off a loss that he definitely gets past that to the point where he'll be ready for a Ryan Garcia fight. You know, it just doesn't make sense to plan like that. And I told you that, and then it happened. I'm the best in the business, and it's not even close, and you guys are witnessing it. So when it comes to Tank, you can listen to me and the case that I presented, or you could listen to the haters. They're talking about, oh, look at Tank's hair and all this other stuff. Why is he sitting on the beanbag like that? He hit some girl. He's Brandy Norwood with the car, like all this other stuff. But we talking boxing, and what you saying when it comes to boxing, it don't make sense. Devin literally needs to beat Tank's leftovers or his career is virtually over. He needs to make that right with the victory. For Tank, Ryan represented his biggest fight, but he also said recently that Ryan was his easiest fight. And even in the epilogue on Showtime, he was like, they said he was fast. He was slow to me. So Tank robbed the bank, got a crazy bag off of Ryan, off the Ryan fight. He didn't really have to work hard. I'm not saying he didn't train hard, but he made the fight look easy. There was never a moment he got hurt. Ryan's a puncher with speed. Devin got hurt repeatedly. And, he got hurt in the first round. Ryan said, "Pop!" Fast as heck. "Pop!" And Devin said, and was trying to smile it off and stuff like that. So it's like, you guys, if you're real boxing fans, you want to grow the sport of boxing, you got to analyze who you listening to and what they're telling me. And does this make sense? Because a lot of it ain't making sense. You can't say Tank ain't fought nobody, but Loma ducked him. Y'all said Tank was ducking, and that's the fight y'all wanted. Loma had an opportunity last year, and he said he don't feel like fighting. But then Lomachenko was at the Canelo fight trying to fight Shakur Stevenson in a street fight. He said, "I'll fight you right here. Move the chairs." Like, come on. I'm killing y'all. That's why what I'm doing, I know what I'm doing. I'm destroying them. Loma said he's not in the mood to fight Tank, the guy you said that Tank was ducking Loma for years. This is what the Tank haters say. But you're not in the mood to fight Tank. It'll be your biggest fight. It'll be a great fight. Two southpaws, two dynamic, electrifying fighters. But you had energy to fight Shakur Stevenson in a street fight. Loma was literally like, "Fight me right now," to Shakur Stevenson. So you was in the mood for that. Again, the other angle, majority of this video I spent talking about it. Tank ain't fought no one. That is the narrative. So why is Ryan fighting Tank's leftovers? His option A and his option B are Tank leftovers. Pitbull, Rolly, he beat them both, and he stopped one of them. And Ryan, he stopped. And people are like, "Oh, Devin's black. He's the black messiah. He's the Jesus of walk on water, next Floyd Mayweather of boxing." But he can't even get past Tank's leftovers. Or at least he didn't. We gonna see. We gonna see in this rematch. I can't wait. I want Ryan to pass all his drug tests. I want it because I need to see the fight. People are saying, "Oh, it's all because Osterine and stuff." We gonna see. But I do know that Devin's whole career hangs in the balance of if he can beat Ryan or not. Ryan's career hangs in the balance of if he can pass a drug test or not. You know what I mean? And now you see why people be clout chasing Tank and talking about him, but what they saying don't make sense. I could do this all day and chop y'all up. I'm Ginsu sharp. Here's another angle. Devin getting scraped by Ryan. Devin getting scraped by Ryan. And Ryan and Devin, when you look at pictures, they're about the same size, about the same build. When Ryan is looking down at Tank, he got to look down, like when B-Hop grabbed Tank arm and all that. There's a considerable height difference. So Ryan is clearly, even with the weight stipulations that you guys like to bring up all the time, Tank is not the tallest person. So he's doing this off pure ring IQ, power, and skill and natural ability. He don't have to be Ryan's height. Devin is roughly about Ryan's height. And I could pull up pictures right now like it's nothing. So I need to know from you guys what gives. How can you say Tank ain't fought nobody, but when his old ops make fights and fight each other, these are all suddenly great fights. But when Tank beat him undefeated or once beaten, those weren't great fights. Like Rolly, I just went through Rolly's whole career since Tank. He got knocked out again by Pitbull. He almost got knocked out by the old man Barroso. And people are like, "Oh, this is a robbery." And then he came back to the Manuel James dude, an inexperienced guy, and it wasn't like a spectacular knockout type of showing. And this is who Ryan is fighting. I get it in terms of you don't want to match Ryan too tough or Devin too tough if you want to make Ryan versus Devin. And even with the fights that they've made, I'd rather they just go straight into the rematch because there's nothing guaranteed in boxing. And 2025 is going to show you all that. So mark these videos down, bookmark it, whatever you got to do. And I'm so good at what I do. I'm so surgical. That's why they all mad. Your boy Ego be cooking. I don't leave no crumbs. TMZ. I show you receipts. Boxer Ryan Garcia fires back at Floyd with a $1 million demand. 2019, right? So remember what I said earlier in this video. Floyd said you could get Tank. This is the video from 2019. He says, if you want Tank, if you want to fight, look, Tank you see his face look fuller. He looked bigger because his weight wasn't what it is now. He didn't have braids. So you could tell it's an old video. Says, if Floyd wants to do business with Ryan Garcia, he's going to have to break out the checkbook. Ryan just watched our video where Floyd tells TMZ that he wants the 20-year-old to fight one of his rising stars, Rolando Rolly Romero, if he wants a big money fight with Tank, right? This is the video. It's from February 17th, 2019. So now we're in 2025. It's so funny. Notice the haters. They'll be like, Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, it took too long. It was past his expiration date. I didn't even want to see the fight. It didn't matter when they fought because they waited 5-6 years. Well, guess what? The same people are saying Riyadh's season saved boxing. Turkey's giving us the fights we want. And that's by making Ryan Garcia versus Rolly. And Floyd was calling for that fight in 2019. And we're now in 2025. I just showed you. And it didn't happen for whatever reason. You know, Golden Boy had a different plan. Ryan was undefeated. The fight never happened. So, again, you look at these fights. A lot of these fights from Turkey, not all, like Better Be of Bevo's a great fight. Schofield, Shakur, I think premature, but that's still, you know, both guys are undefeated. Usyk Fury is a good fight. But some of these fights, like Conor Ben and Eubank, it's like this is fights years old. It's like Amir Khan versus Kell Brook. Yeah, they fought, but it was like many moons when it didn't even matter the same that they fought. Same thing with Ryan and Rolly. I don't have a problem with it personally, but if you're going to say Tank ain't fought nobody, then we got to look at the actual factuals. So Ryan and Rolly's a fight could have been happened since 2019, and we're getting it 4 or 5 years later, right? They're talking about Wilder, AJ, same concept. AJ just got knocked out. Wilder just got knocked out. So it's like, yeah, I'll watch it if Turkey can, you know, get the fight done. But it's also not the fight that it should have been when Joshua was undefeated, Wilder was undefeated, and it could have been for undisputed. Or they're saying, oh, what about Joshua and Tyson Fury? Same concept. I'll watch it, I guess, but it could have been an undisputed fight at one point in time. So you guys got your wires crossed and you got a lot to untangle because you know it don't make sense. I told you the most dangerous thing is a camera and a microphone. These dudes aren't surgical like me. They just blurt out things, and then that's why it always looks sloppy, because they're not consistent and meticulous. They don't have the gift of gab, right? So you could tell hate. When I say stuff, it's not hate, because if it was hate, I wouldn't be able to say, oh, hey, look, Floyd said it in 2019 in February. Here's the date. They can't do what I do. The Haney-X can't do this. The Ryan fans and Shakur fans can't do this. That's why they're talking about, oh, Tank needs to fight someone, blah, blah, blah. It's not making sense. So hopefully you guys dug this unpacked episode. There's a lot of things that we got to talk about, but we got to get boxing back to the point where it makes sense. I don't know who y'all listen to, but a lot of the narratives out ain't making sense. Tank gets no credit for fighting undefeated fighters, but then after they get beaten and stopped again and beat up by someone else, and then someone else later fights them, now these are remarkable fights. But you don't get no credit taking their O? Come on, bro. Come on. Like, Ryan was just about to fight Pitbull. Tank beat him, and then he would be coming off of a loss to El Rayo where he didn't look great. He was thoroughly outboxed. So even if Turkey made the initial fight, which was Ryan versus Pitbull, it's not a champion Pitbull. He didn't look good at 140, and he got thoroughly outboxed. And then he also lost to Tank, where he was outboxed. So these are the fights that you guys are like, Turkey's giving us all the fights we want. And somehow PBC gets no credit for making Ryan and Tank in 2023 without Turkey. But Turkey can take these fights and, like, I guess, breathe new life into them or revive them. Wilder, Joshua, Rolly, and Ryan from 2019 and get it done in 2025 and somehow get it cracking and get credit for it. He can revive Eddie Hearn's failed attempt at Conor Benn and Chris Eubank from 2022 or whatever when he failed the drug test. And then 3 years later, you guys are like, yes, these are the fights that we always demanded. How? And then for Devin, the Haney-Garcia, I mean, Devin's team said he's the face of boxing, but it's very likely he'll have to fight on Tank's leftovers undercard, which is Ryan and Rolly. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And then people have the nerve to be like, oh, ego, he doesn't know. Yeah, all right. So good job. Let's see if they can unpack it better than I just did.